Ladies and gentlemen, pay attention. This is your boy, the coach from the WWE. I would like to welcome you to the very first wrestling podcast in the world to take you on a weekly deep dive into classic matches along with legends of the squared circle. Enjoy the discussion. Enjoy the back and forth. There's so much to get into. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the payoff.
The streak is over. Jeff, this is Tom Healy. As always, I'm joined with you, my co-host. This is a very somber moment.
Very somber, yeah. Just for you and me both, and we'll get there. But oh boy, let's get right into it, because this is one that I know you and I got a lot of feelings. So,
dude, I know. Well, hey, we're back together in person, doing another no guest needed show. The first one was well received. We're on the road to WrestleMania, so we wanted to keep doing them. We're still going to use guests. We're going to also do some on our own, because then that way we can talk a little bit more, cover it in more detail, and cover some matches that maybe we can't find the perfect guest for. So it's exciting. Glad you enjoyed the first one we did, and we're back at it again. As always, at Payoff Pod on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, at Payoff Tom, at Payoff Jeff on Twitter to reach both of us. Thank you for all the support. Thank you for supporting the show. We greatly appreciate it. But enough of that. Jeff, let's jump right into this. Man, why did you want to cover this match, my friend?
For starters, I'm already feeling some Jimmy Johns. Like, I don't know why, but Brock makes me want some Jimmy Johns. And so, boy, this is one I'll say, like, I was at WrestleMania 23. That was Ford Field. It was the Undertaker and Batista. At that time, it put him at 15-0. It was for the heavyweight championship. But, like, growing up, the Undertaker, like, it's hard watching him now. And we'll be more for the aftermath, but, like, it's just the Phenom was that, like, he was just, it's just incredible to watch. And so I feel like this match is such a culmination of that mountain just crumbling. And so it's so hard to, like you said, it's so somber. So we got to talk about it because of just what it did, but it's still rough.
So I have not watched this match in its entirety since it happened. Obviously, I've seen the end a million times, but I'm excited to watch it again and see how it holds up, see these two guys in action. Obviously, I've got some strong opinions as well, but let's just jump right into the build.
Oh, it's time for the build.
It was December 30th, that episode of Raw, where Lesnar, he actually returned with Paul Heyman. He wanted to challenge the winner of the upcoming Randy Orton versus John Cena match at Royal Rumble. Lesnar, of course, called people out. So Mark Henry came out, and he storyline, gave the F5 to Henry, dislocated his elbow with a Kimura lock, which the famous Kimura lock. Thank you, Daniel Puder. Of course, having that as well, too. And so it was actually Big Show that then came out to save Mark Henry. Can't forget about the Big Show. Wrestled in 3 decades. Good for the Big Show. And so he actually started a feud. The Lesnar defeated Big Show at this Royal Rumble. So Undertaker not totally in the picture at this point, but what it was that Lesnar, though, wanted a shot because they wanted they wanted a shot at the heavyweight championship at WrestleMania. So, what the Authority did at that time.
Oh God, I forgot about all the Authority and
man, this is all part of
GMs, and I'm just so glad we're off of that
GM
right now.
in the sky. Thank you, Michael Cole.
Oh no, I forgot about that too. That was terrible.
The computer, you can't forget about that. So it was actually the Authority. What they did was they offered Lesnar a contract. He could face anyone at WrestleMania. And Tom, I know this is one you were like, did you hear Tom? For those of you, like, we were talking about notes, he's like, did you include the thing about the pen? I was like, I included the thing about the pen.
Oh, this is such a good angle. Go back and watch it.
So, they offered the contract to him. They were actually interrupted by the Undertaker, who confronted Lesnar. It was actually so Lesnar signed the contract for the match at WrestleMania with the Undertaker as his opponent, and then the Undertaker accepted Lesnar's challenge. But Tom, do you want to let us know how he accepted the challenge, Tom?
Dude, he stabs Lesnar in the hand with the pen and then chokeslams his ass through the table. It was awesome. Did he stab him with the pen? Absolutely not, but it was just such a good visual. Oh, man, it was great. It was like, all right, we're doing this at WrestleMania. This is going to be an awesome match. And it was, it's interesting because a couple of these, and I think about the first and second Triple H Taker matches, those builds weren't big. It was just the two of them. The one year they didn't even say a word, right? They did the cutting of the throat and then the crotch chop. Dude, it didn't take much, but all of a sudden you were like, man, they're wrestling. This is going to be great. So it was just a quick but awesome build to your point. We're at WrestleMania 30, obviously. It's in New Orleans. Jeff, I got to tell you, man, I've been fortunate to go to a lot of WrestleManias. I did not go to this one, and I wish I had. Yeah. I mean, this is like, if there's one I could have attended during my adulthood that I didn't, this would be the one. But April 6, 2014, it kicks off, man. We had Hulk Hogan come out. Then we had the glass break and Austin comes out. Then, holy shit, The Rock comes out. It was just an awesome way to start the show. We kicked off with Daniel Bryan defeating Triple H, earns his way into the main event to make it a three-way. I'm not going to go through the entire card, but, this Lesnar thing was the third to last match, Lesnar-Taker. And then, they did the women's buffer match because, again, this was a time when that's what they did with the women. And then they had the main event of Daniel Bryan beating Batista and Orton at a three-way, which was obviously awesome match, capped off an awesome night. They kind of fell ass backwards into the fans getting Bryan into this because otherwise you would have had Batista Orton for the title, which I don't think anyone wanted to see. So they lucked out and had a great main event. Also on this show, I think could be a rematch that we see this year of John Cena and Bray Wyatt. Just me saying, I have no inside knowledge of that, but I think we may see that. Who knows? But yeah, so great show, really fun. But yeah, we're here to talk Brock Lesnar and Undertaker. So Jeff, I say we just jump right into this match. For those of you that want to watch along with us, 2 hour 27-minute mark of WrestleMania 30 on the network. Again, 2 hour 27 mark when you hear the ding ding ding. And if you're watching it streaming, it's right when the match starts. So with that being said, it's time for the payoff.
Oh, it's time for the payoff.
All right, everybody, let's jump right in. Like we said, we're just now, the bell's about to ring. And so kind of watching this match, we got the stare down. We saved you the kind of entrances. Feel free to go back, but we're jumping right into it. Undertaker kind of coming out, swinging against Brock, really. And so something to kind of remember, and I kind of had to remind myself of this was not the dominant, even at this point. Like, Brock was dominant. Here's suplex one.
Jeez. So, makes it look so easy on Taker.
Brock was not like the absolute dominant force that Undertaker landed on his feet going outside the ring, just stare down. It just wasn't the force that we all kind of knew him as, like we do today. Like, he was still, Brock, but, he had, in like really the last year or so, like, lost to Triple H. And so, he's kind of laying into Taker right now. And so it was to the point, though, where most fans in attendance, and I think even you and I both, like, he wasn't going to lose. Like, how could the Undertaker lose? Like, it just wasn't a thing. And so to even fathom that, like, kind of coming across, and I still remember to this day, like, me and my buddies texting each other and like kind of talking about it, because like, Brock is staggered right now. We're barely into the match, like maybe just a couple minutes here, but Undertaker literally already has Brock kind of on the ropes, and kind of working him. And so I think it's just interesting that, and now, like, we say Brock has been, of course already was said, like, Brock's the absent champ, or he doesn't, he doesn't defend it every week on Raw. I get that. Like, he does defend it on a lot of shows. I don't think you can deny that fact. And so,
dude, I said this on a podcast, on this podcast, as a matter of fact, not my other wrestling podcast.
Right.
Just kidding. I only have one. That's enough with, like a shoot job and life. So here's what's crazy. This is 2020. Okay. This was 6 years ago.
Yeah.
And Lesnar was already on a 2-year run at this point.
I remember that, yeah.
Lesnar is on an 8-year run right now.
Yeah.
Dude, he came back, the night after WrestleMania in Miami, attacks John Cena, and you're thinking, are we getting a match? Are we getting, maybe a couple matches? It's going to end up being, I don't know, a 10-year run whenever it's over, after he already had a long run, and then went off and became, UFC heavyweight champion. So, dude, it's just crazy to think about that it's had such a long run. And I don't want to get ahead of ourselves about the finish, but the reality is that never did I think this night that we were going to get another 6 or 8 years out of Lesnar. And keep in mind, to your point, he's not on every Raw, but dude, what's he probably been in? Like an average of 6 matches, 8 matches a year? They've all been main events. They've all been great. That's the other thing with Lesnar. I mean, you could argue that the only match during this 8-year run that I can remember not being really, really good was the Ambrose WrestleMania match. Yeah. It kind of sucked because neither of them wanted to really be there and do it. Yeah. But, dude, you think about Lesnar's run here. I mean, he had, I think 3 matches with Taker. You may get into this afterwards, but they were all really good, okay? Yep. The Goldberg stuff was great. The CM Punk match was awesome. Some of those 3-ways he did with Rollins and Reigns, and then his matches with Reigns. I mean, and I'm leaving other stuff out. The Cena match was great, matches. So everything he's done's been awesome. He's headlined all over the world. They've all been great. The builds have been really solid. You have the Paul Heyman factor of just being awesome, but you just think of the mileage they've gotten out of this guy and how I think used him almost flawlessly. The fact is we still care. We just saw him at in Royal Rumble do this 10 or 12 guys in a row he threw out, right?
13.
Was it awesome?
Yeah.
It was great, right? And I mean, if you hated him, you were booing him. If you loved him, you were cheering him. If you were just a fan like us that doesn't really have an emotional attachment per se, you're like, man, this is some pretty good shit, right?
Well, I think you and I are discussing with someone, it got to the point where you're like, oh God, are they really going to have him eliminate every single person this way? Is this, and we're a couple minutes in now, Undertaker's still dominating the match. So again, no reason to believe, going for the chokeslam here, no reason to believe that, didn't get it, that, and here comes the first F5, that he would not,
nope.
Undertaker slips out. So that, this was going to be the night because Taker, and we kind of, he does, people treat him rough now because, yes, he's been doing this for a while, and I get that, but he very much, seeing him out there doing this, it's just, you still wouldn't think that this is going to be the night.
You're saying people give Lesnar shit?
No, give Taker shit.
Oh, for still being out there?
Yeah.
Dude, okay. Let me say this. Taker, for those that are like, hey, you know what? He's overextended his welcome. He's been there too long, blah, blah, blah. Okay, the last 5 years, okay? What has Taker done that sucked?
Yeah, well,
the Goldberg thing, that was an accident. And that was actually going to be a really good match if that wouldn't happen, okay?
Yeah.
So you can't certainly blame it on Undertaker. I don't think you can blame it on either guy. It's an accident. They happen, okay? Otherwise, has Taker embarrassed himself? No. Has he had some matches that weren't great? Sure. Plodding around a little bit. But guess what? His most recent stuff has been really, really good. So I personally, and I'm curious what you think of this, I still go nuts when he gets there. I still think most of what he's doing pretty damn good. The fact that he's able to, still do it, I love it. I'm going to cheer for the guy. Is he going to have a 5-star match this year if he comes back? Probably not. Who cares? Enjoy it, love it, cherish it. It's not the main event. It's just an attraction. And for that, I love it. So I got no problem with it. And I still think he's doing a great job and still doing some pretty good stuff.
Well, and even at our age, you and I couldn't do what he's doing at his age. Like, it's just not going to be a thing. This is, too, we've talked about it before. This is, Brock's actually wrestling a match, too. We always talk about, like, you know, he was squashing so many people. And are there squashes? Yes. But the two of them have put on a pretty decent match here, just kind of working with each other. And so Brock kind of working over the leg now. I think it is interesting just to kind of see that, like, you know, you don't see Heyman that serious anymore either. Heyman kind of watching from ringside as well. It's just interesting to see, like, you know, these two guys kind of working it. But even still, you wouldn't think, like, okay, like, when Taker will make his comeback, like, just kind of give it some time here, it'll happen. And so, you know, and we'll talk a little bit more about the aftermath, like how this played out, you know, and why it made the decision they kind of did. Because, like you said, Brock was not like for whatever reason, they still wanted him to get over a little bit. And so, like, it's just such a big part of it. And so, stiff shots now from Brock.
You know, one of the things I don't hear often, but I was just thinking about in terms of, you know, this match and why maybe it was such a shocking ending. Remember, this is the first big show to be on the network.
Yeah.
Okay. So you had, you know, guys like you and I, we sign up for the network. We're like, this is the greatest thing ever. No brainer. Right. But then you also had the fans. Maybe they were lapsed fans. Maybe they're not big fans, whatever. That you needed a hook. You needed an attraction. So getting Lesnar back in the fold and then obviously, you know, doing what you did here. Look, I don't know what you want to call the current era of WrestleManias. I mean, we're now headed into 36, I believe. Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay. So I don't know. Let's just say the current era of WrestleMania is like the past like 10 years. I believe this is the best one.
It falls.
I mean, this was just a great show. I mean, the Bryan Triple H match was great. You know, you had a Shield squash. You had the Andre Battle Royal. Cena Wyatt was pretty solid. Wrong guy won, obviously. You had this match, and then you had Bryan winning the three-way. You know, it was also kind of the Ultimate Warriors weekend. So it was just a really special weekend. It was a really good WrestleMania weekend.
Well, and we forget, at least I forgot, I'm sure I'm not the only one, like, this match and the streak ending was the same night that Daniel Bryan got his moment. And
this is a big show, man. And
right,
then,
literally. And so, like, you forget that, like, this had extreme, I say, lows because of what's about to happen in this match, or at least shock value. But then with Bryan, like, it was extreme highs. Like, you know, we would have never, you know, especially now with him back, like, we would have never thought that. But that was a moment that really, like Kofi, like, the fans wanted that. Like, that is where that came from, was that the fans, for once, they were listening and they gave us what we wanted, which was Daniel Bryan winning, which was the right thing, though, too. Like, you know, still it was an uphill battle, but he should have won, and he did win. But you forget that. Like, this card, it had some crazy, you know, matches on this one.
Does Lesnar still have the Jimmy John sponsorship?
He does not, because I actually have a running bet going with one of my buddies about whether or not when Brock wins certain matches, we have a Jimmy John's bet going with each other. So sometimes we have to Venmo each other a couple bucks for a sandwich. So it's $7 that floats between the two of us from time to time. But yeah, and so he does not, it is not on his shorts, but yes, that is, at least recently it has not been. But yeah, absolutely. I associate him with Jimmy John's every single time.
So this Lesnar run, right, this now 8-year run that he's on, what's your favorite Lesnar match?
Oh, man, I don't even know if I have one, because some of his matches, I just struggle. Like, you can't deny what Brock has done, but I'm not a fan of Brock Lesnar.
Really? I'm a massive fan.
And so
massive. I think everything he does is awesome. I love it. I love the facials. I love the believability. I love that it's different. I mean, look at these like gut punches right now. He looks like Rocky Balboa. I mean, it's just, look at those. I mean, just kidney punches. He's got the UFC gloves, dude. I mean, he's jacked. He's got the tattoos. I mean, I think Lesnar he's the best thing in wrestling over the past 10 years. I mean, I love the guy. I think everything he does is awesome.
And I would say, though, like, I think either you and I have discussed, or I've discussed it with somebody else, like, at the same time, when I say, like, I don't like Brock Lesnar, the character, like, you know, and kind of the story. And he's had a long trajectory and kind of, you know, looking at it, like him having the belt and doing all these different things. Like, I think at the same time, though, like, I would not ever, like, real life Brock is far more scarier to me than WWE Brock. And so I don't know if maybe that's the disconnect I have with it. And I didn't necessarily have it with, like, Ronda or, like, you know, you see, like, Matt Riddle or some of these other people. But, like, Brock, I feel like, I truly do believe that, yes, he should be, like, in hindsight, yeah, he should beat The Undertaker. Like, he should beat 95% of the people that he gets in the ring with because he is Brock Lesnar. But I just struggle, like I said, the storylines is just, I can't pick one match where it's like, this is the Brock, like, he's just not someone that I enjoy following.
Dude, I don't know if I've ever disagreed with you more on this podcast than that.
Interesting, yeah.
I'm curious where everyone listening thinks, but man, I'm a massive Brock Lesnar mark.
See, and I think most of the fans listening, and let us know,
dude, go watch him and Reigns when Rollins cashed in. That is one of the best matches you will ever watch.
That was a good moment, I'll give you.
Him and Goldberg, that was a great match.
See, I don't, and I've said this before. Dude, I just think you got
it's a great 12-minute.
There's a way
brawl.
To utilize legends and, like, Brock, like, you know, and I get, like, Brock squashing or getting squashed by Goldberg. Okay, it made sense for the story, then the comeback and all this other stuff. Like, dude, whatever. But I just, like, there are other, I guess, it may not necessarily be a dislike of Brock as much as there are other wrestlers that I am more invested in their storylines and what's happening versus what's happening with Brock. I just
could not disagree with you more.
But it's hard too because, you know, we even think like, oh, Brock, you know, has the belt and all this other stuff. Like, you and I, we have days where, like, who has the US belt?
So what do you think? What do you think of Lesnar being, like, part-time champion as opposed to being on Raw every week? Do you like that?
I don't mind that because I do think it adds to his, like, beast status. So I like where I know I'm probably in a minority on that one where fans don't like the part-time champ, but at the same time I'm fine with him, you know, doing what he's doing.
I mean, Lesnar just taking a massive choke slam there. The other thing about Lesnar, he has one of the best 2 3/4 kick out. You want to know who has one of the worst ones? Especially in his comeback matches, is The Rock. You can see him staring at the ref with his eyes wide open. You know he's going to kick out. Terrible. You can see him calling all his spots. I mean, I don't need to see him wrestle.
That's again. A lot of time I remember reading, and that's, here we go. Here comes the F5.
F5.
That you hear the stories of, and the fans are starting to get up as well, too.
That's just got to be a tough move to take, right? The F5. I'm sure sometimes he lays it in more than others.
It's got to be a tough move to execute, too. Yeah. Like, it's not like some moves where you get a little bit of give, from the other wrestler, like a choke slam, where they're jumping. Like, Brock's got to spin him. And Undertaker, he's not a svelte 200. Like, you know, he's got to move that man. So most of the fans, too, for those of you not watching, most of the fans are on their feet at this point. Some of them were, they sat down just now. But they were kind of, you know, unsure of what was going to happen there. But even then, still, it's like, okay, like, Brock is acting dazed. He's acting like, you know, he's not fully kind of in it. And so you do kind of wonder, like, okay, like, Taker should start making his comeback any time now. And so
Taker just looks dead. I mean, he's
literally the dead man. So, yeah.
So, quick little side note here. We're going to WrestleMania together. Our first WrestleMania together. You're second overall.
Yep.
I want to say maybe like my 8th. I gotta write them down and count. But what are you most excited for? Just about the whole weekend in general.
One, I am I want to.
He's got him in Hell's Gates, by the way. You like this move?
I think it's fun. Yeah, you don't see it a whole lot, which is what I like it. But this goes back to the suspending disbelief of, like,
I think it's terrible.
The hold itself is
absolutely
terrible.
Awful. And even when guys tap out, you can't really tell. So it's like the fans don't really react when somebody does tap out to it. It's just, I don't like it. And his shoulders are on the mat and they're not counting it. I mean, it's just, I'm not a fan.
And knowing Brock's background, it's just
he obviously, it's
like Shayna. Why I actually do like Shayna Baszler a lot because
I do too.
How she dominates, because I truly believe that, like, her and Brock could both kill me. And
all right, so both men down right now. So what are you most excited for WrestleMania?
I said this, I think, on a previous episode, like, going to when I went to the AEW Dynamite show and just being around, like, it's a totally, especially if you've never been to a show, like, please go to a show, no matter what it might be. even if it's a small indie show, because the atmosphere and the environment and just being around at that, like, I don't know how many people that arena holds or that stadium holds, but like,
a lot.
You figure 80, 90,000 of us, we're gonna share a moment together. Like,
so you're just excited to be there.
I'm excited.
What a generic answer.
Not just to be there, but like to experience things with the fans. It's one thing when you're sitting on your couch.
Oh, look at this guy! What a white meat baby face.
So when you're sitting on your couch, kind of dealing with these things, going for the hold again,
Hell's Gates again. I hate it. So, or is that? Yeah, that's what it's called. Yeah, it's like a triangle choke.
And so I'm looking forward to just like high fiving the random people around us when something crazy happens.
What shirt are you wearing? You know?
Oh, I got to think about it. There's a conversation I need to have because are we going to promote the show or am I going to pull out one from the drawer?
Like, we're there as fans. We are not there to promote the payoff. We are there as fans. We are two big ass marks that are going to drink some beers and watch some wrestling.
We'll have to see because there might be an order in the near future here for something because I want to. If I'm going to Mania, I want to make sure I got the right shirt. I've got a lot of wrestling shirts, so we'll see.
I've wore a few different shirts to WrestleMania. I think the last one I went to. This is just how big of a mark I am. I just wore a WrestleMania shirt. I just the brand. Just love the brand. Just happy to be there.
Well, and that's just one of those things where you want to. Are you going to be that fan that wears the shirt? Like that's the old adage and the old joke and things like that. And so, it's just one of those things. So we got again like Brock and kind of looking.
I mean, they're both beat right now. I mean, this is great, right? I mean, they're both sitting down there. Taker can't even get up. I mean, it's a war.
So you gave me shit for my answer. So what's your answer then for what are you looking forward to?
Just being there, high-fiving fans.
Well, that's what I said. Well, you can't be giving me shit for it too.
I don't know. I probably it's been a few years. I'm excited to go back. Every year I feel like I get smarter on what seats to buy and what sections to avoid. So looking forward to just being on the floor, just being down there, looking at everything. You probably have the return of Edge. That'll be kind of cool. And I'm hoping it's a fun show.
You and I both, one, I will say it is the Raymond James Stadium.
Yep, Tampa.
Holds 75,000 at an expanded capacity.
WrestleCon looks like it's going to have a ton of legends. That's kind of walking distance across the street. That'll be fun.
I take her trying. Yeah. I think it's one of those where we'll just I'm excited no matter what. I know you and I were.
I think we're going to SmackDown too. Maybe
we talked about SmackDown. We weren't sure about NXT. And
I think we take a break. I mean, here's the thing with NXT, and we'll get back to this match here. Just got him in a hold here. Just an arm bar for Taker on Lesnar, but
not excited,
dude. Look, I love NXT. It's great. The thing is, it's like you're going to get like 5 really, really good matches. Nothing surprising is necessarily going to happen. It's just going to be a really solid show. And it's like, I could sit at home and watch it maybe or something. I don't know. It's just, it's like you can only go to so many wrestling shows. Plus, that Sunday's just a grind. I mean, it's like a 8-hour show and probably a 16-hour affair. So
as the wrestling fans, we all know, I will not be wearing a black shirt. So I will be trying to find
I've made that mistake.
A non-black shirt to the event, which I understand.
Yeah, go ahead and wear a white one. It's going to be sweaty and yellow by the end of it. You'll wish you were wearing black.
Yeah, and so right, exactly, and so that's what. So I will not make that mistake. I know AJ's got some blue ones, so those aren't bad. A
little bit of a long match here. It's like maybe I don't know. Maybe there's a critique, an in-match critique is this thing does go 25 minutes, and maybe it could have gone 20. They're both. Taker. I don't know if he was legitimately gassed. If I'm not mistaken, he had a pretty bad concussion in this one, right? I don't think he remembers the end.
No.
So he might have been it's just crazy to think these guys are knocked out cold. But then, here he goes. He's going for the
ropes. The fans are walking the ropes.
Fans going nuts.
Yep.
Barely, dude, he looks like he's about to take her.
And Brock pulls him down though for the F5. Yep. And so, this is one of those.
This is number 2, right?
Like you said, though, this is 3. Yeah.
Yep. No, that's 2.
Yeah, it's 2. Yeah, the third one is but you're right. And this is one this is a long match. Even you and me sitting here right now, I think we kind of knew, but we're sitting here right now. It's not an exciting match either. And I think part of it is the anticipation kind of kept you in it so much because you were waiting for that moment where, all right, Taker's just going to come back. He's going to have those 2 moves, and we're going to tombstone, and that's going to be the end of it.
And again, I know I'm getting a little ahead of myself, but I would just tell you that, you didn't see it coming, man. Like, right? Like, I mean, you're just so programmed to be like, all right, Taker's gonna win. I mean, see, I'm trying to like go back to like how I felt while I was watching this match. Like, all right, Taker's gonna win. Like, yeah, kicked out 2 F5. Like probably have a tombstone here coming soon. But man, yeah, he is like googly eyed, man. I mean, he barely even helped on that suplex. I mean, that was all Lesnar. Yeah. I mean, you can tell, dude. He just. Again, I hadn't gone back and really watched this whole match, but I mean, he just looks like he is dead weight. And I mean, of course, Lesnar can. I mean, look at that.
Yeah.
I mean, Lesnar can still pull off like dragging dead weight over his shoulders, but that's crazy.
And at this point too, like again, like. Even me, like sitting here, like I know how it ends, but it's that Taker moment where you're like, he'll come back. Like, why? What do we have to worry about? There's no way that the streak is going to end.
How's Lesnar get so sweaty?
Man, it's like
my wife asked me that during the Rumble. I'm like, I don't know.
He is always like, and same thing. I feel like, how does he self heal when he's bleeding so quickly? Like, there'll be matches where he's got like blood dripping, and then all of a sudden, like nothing. Like he's perfectly fine, and it makes zero sense. Undertaker looking dead here against the ropes. Heyman like trying to encourage him to get back in there. I think we're getting close to the end here. I'm not sure, but because again, it's been a while since I've sat and watched the whole thing too. But again, it kind of shows like we can be surprised as wrestling fans. Still, there's.
What do you think of Taker's short hair?
I'm fine with the mohawk. I think it looks good. It's definitely better than Biker Taker.
I'm glad he's back to the long hair now, but it was cool for a few years.
He doesn't have as much of that hair, so that's a struggle too. So
yeah, he still does okay. Better than HBK. HBK had to shave his.
So we're coming again. We're on the road right now. We kind of know that Brock is going to be taking on Drew. Who if Taker's coming back, who do you want to see him go against?
I really don't have anyone. I mean, there's no one where I'm like, I mean, I don't know. I would have said, God, he's
done.
Yeah.
That was so. Brock was kind of standing on the second rope and would take.
Tried to do the power bomb. What's he got? Last ride, but then it just didn't. He's goofy. Yeah. I mean, his eyes are like in the back of his head here. He doesn't know where the hell he's at right now.
And I forget, too.
But you said Taker. I mean, yeah, if I'm fantasy booking WrestleMania at this time that we're sitting here doing this, I'm putting it him and The Fiend and putting The Fiend over. But The Fiend's kind of got to be pretty lame, too. So I don't know. That's what I'd say. All right, so Taker is going for the tombstone. He's got him up.
And it was you figured
looks like he's going to drop him.
At this point, here's the tombstone.
There you go.
So it's like, all right, that's it. Like fans, you would think that would be the end of it. And this is one of those where, Taker, at this point, he's had, the concussion was supposedly at the beginning of this match, like the first couple of minutes. So he's now been going about 15 minutes with a concussion.
At least.
Trying to work through this match. And so I can't imagine, and we've seen recently where they've been very quick to either pull someone from a match. It happened with the Alexander Wolf, and he's sitting up here. And so, again, the classic Taker sit-up, so you figure everything's going to be good. Where they pulled Alexander Wolf right away from a match because they thought he was hurt. Something else happened, too, recently. Yep, doing the neck or the throat cut. And so I think it's time, finally. So... yeah.
So famous match, but not a great match. All right, so here we go. Another tombstone. Boom. Reverses it. Looks like he's going to hit a tombstone here. Throws him. He's got him held up for the F5. Talking a little shit.
All the fans are.
I hate how he always faces the camera when he does the F5. It looks fake. Boom. 1, 2, 3.
And the entire. So.
I mean, look at the fans.
The crowd stand is literally shock. Heyman is losing his mind, screaming, "Oh my God!" So now they're panning to the crowd.
I mean, they're shocked. Here comes the greatest meme right there.
There it is. Just say yes. Yep, him,
dude.
And so fans have their hands on their heads.
So yeah, okay. Try and guess what I'm going to say here. What's the best part of this moment, and what's the worst part of this moment? Let me see. The best
part is that there's no music.
Correct.
And that for those of you that aren't watching, that right now Brock has won, and normally they're going to play the music. Right, there is no music happening at all,
none.
And so they don't play actually Brock's music until he gets out of the ring. And so that is one of those where I think that makes this, and it should be. I also think the other answer could have been the commentary didn't say anything. Very little.
You're incorrect. That's my least favorite part.
Okay.
Dumbass Michael Cole immediately, the streak is over.
Yeah.
I don't mind that line. The problem is he says it so damn fast, like he knew that it was going to happen. And I'm not saying that like a mark. I'm just saying like he said it too quickly, which means he had to have known. And I remember JR a lot of times be like, yeah, I don't want to know the finish. Like, JR didn't know Mick Foley was getting thrown off the cage.
Nobody did, yeah.
That's what was so great about it. So Cole said it so fast that he had to have known, okay? Which makes it seem fake, and I hated it. I just hated the fact he's like, the streak is... Like, you could have just been like, holy shit, the streak is over.
Yeah.
Like, it just pisses me off.
So there again, it's 21-1 is now showing on the monitors around the arena.
Dude, you're shocked.
And fans still losing their mind, unsure. Now,
complete meltdown. Before you go any further, I want to transition and bring Hacksaw in to take us to the aftermath. So let's jump into the aftermath.
Ho! It's time for the aftermath.
So welcome back, everybody. We're still kind of watching and checking out the disbelief here. And so of the WWE Universe, the fans shaking their heads, not a single smile in the crowd. Brock just winked back at the Undertaker. And so we'll kind of let this play, but we'll talk through kind of some of this as well, too, because the Undertaker kind of slow to leave the ring. He's just kind of still laid out looking up.
Yeah, so obviously this is like mega push for Brock Lesnar time. So what happens storyline-wise for both guys following all this?
Yeah, and so it was actually, as we talked about the concussion, and we didn't all know at the time, but yeah, he was did truly suffer a concussion, and so was taken to that local medical facility, but he was actually looked at as a hospital. And so
local medical facility.
That's what it is.
In WWE world, it sure is.
That's what we got to call it. So it was actually, though, that these two, though, this was not the end of their kind of tangling in the ring, though, that it would have been Battleground just a little bit later, that there was there was a no contest with Seth Rollins. It was also a controversial SummerSlam match, for those of you that are familiar with that one, that we'll talk about later. It was actually the feud, it actually ended. It was Hell in a Cell, which again, Lesnar beat the Undertaker in that match with that stipulation. And so throughout this too, like Taker had like some kind of run-ins with Bray Wyatt, which I think that was the following year we kind of redeemed himself a little bit, because a lot of fans this match was hard to watch.
Well, that was the one where he just showed up. There was no build with Taker. He didn't show up on screen until the following year.
It was a very quick match. Taker pretty much pulled out the big...
Wasn't Bray hurt going into it, and I almost had to cancel the match?
Yeah, and so
the match sucked.
Meningitis or something? Yeah, I don't remember. So we had that. So we had that match. It was actually WrestleMania 31, of course, and so it was actually two tombstones that put away Wyatt under that one. Of course, and then Lesnar, he, of course, as we know, like beat John Cena as well too at SummerSlam. So just
destroyed John Cena at SummerSlam.
So do you remember the number of suplexes, Tom?
It was like 15,
16, and so you were close. It was definitely so. Undertaker, like we don't always do this, but he's kind of sat up in the ring now. Fans are starting to cheer a little bit as he's kind of slowly exiting the ring, and so. It was interesting here, just the aftermath as a whole. I'll jump kind of right into some of these reviews too, because like there's not a ton here, but I thought that they were just kind of very interesting.
Dude, let me hit you with this before you read the reviews.
Go.
How would you retire the Undertaker? What's the last thing he does as an active performer?
I thought it should have been when he left his gear in the ring, but then he still came back. And so,
I mean, I'm sitting there. I was there, and I kind of like snuck up to like as close as I could for that, and I'm like, well, this is it. We're watching the Undertaker finish.
Well, and I think it's one of those where, like most good wrestlers, I think he would go out on his back. I think when I think a lot of people thought this was going to be it. Like this was supposed to be it. He was going to go out on his back, but then it's 2020 now, and he's still, we're still questioning whether or not he's going to come back.
Dude, let me steal partially. I'm going to steal JR's idea that I once heard him say, and I'll add my portion to it, which is surprise entrant at the Royal Rumble, wins the title at WrestleMania, leaves it in the ring. lays down the belt. And I know he probably wouldn't do it in traditionalist, but dude, if there's one guy that should retire with the belt and lay it down, I mean, if it truly is his final match, that would be pretty badass. So what were the write-ups immediately following this match? And then we'll give our payoff scores.
So just some real brief ones on this that of course, music wasn't playing. It came out. The biggest thing here was that it was Sports Illustrated described it as having the most shocking result since the Montreal Screwjob.
I'd argue more shocking.
I would not disagree with you.
Is there anything more shocking in the history of wrestling?
Right.
Maybe Foley coming off the cage. I mean, that to me, this is probably the most shocked I ever was.
So a few things from the Pro Wrestling Torch, the write-ups, kind of two things here. So perhaps you heard this one, or perhaps you heard about this one. Well, however newsworthy it may have been, it wasn't very good, whether that's because Taker is broken or because he suffered a concussion somewhere in the early going or whatever. So not great there. Well, someone else over there wrote that he attended the event. He actually scored the event as a whole as an 8.75 out of 10, but he said that saying goodbye to the past proved harder than anyone could imagine with the end of the Undertaker streak. He said this, and not WrestleMania 28 was the true end of an era. I did not think it could have ended on a worse note with over 15 minutes of slow, subpar action.
I gotta stop you right here. Taker, Triple H, WrestleMania 28, end of an era. They're both still working. It's 8 years later.
Yeah.
And they even wrestled against each other not that long ago.
Right. And so, and then the Wrestling Observer newsletter, of course, that was the Torch. And the Observer News, that I said, is a very newsworthy show, to say the least. He saw people just weren't into the Undertaker's match as nobody bought that Lesnar could win. Meanwhile, he felt the Undertaker's departure was certainly teased like a retirement.
8 years ago.
8 years ago. Yeah.
All right. I'm going to give my payoff score first. And as a reminder, this isn't like about being a 5-star match. This isn't about just what happened in the ring. It's the overall part of this. I have no idea what you're going to say. This may not be popular. I'm putting this at an 8.5. Okay, now hear me out. Okay, look, the negatives are clear, right? It wasn't the best match. Taker has severe concussion. I think he spent the night in the hospital. I mean, he was jacked up, right? This was not a great match. It was 25 minutes. It was probably too long, blah, blah, blah. Dude, it's arguably the most shocking, and I would say, at least from a storyline standpoint, the most shocking thing to ever happen. As a wrestling fan, I don't know if I've ever been more shocked in my life. We know it's a work. We know a lot of the things that happen behind the scenes. We know a lot of things that are, going to occur, right? I don't know when I've ever been more just genuinely shocked than this, of like, oh my God. I would have had the same reaction as a lot of the people on screen did. I had it at home. So 8.5 of the fact that crazy moment, we'll remember it forever, 20-plus year streak comes to an end. I think payoff-wise, it's big, it's crazy, it's bold, and, they're going to get a good 8-10 years out of Lesnar because they just put him on a whole different level because of this. So for those reasons, I got it an 8.5. I can tell by your face that you're not going to agree with me. So
did you think I was going to think that was too high or too low?
You were going to thought it was way too high. I think you're going to hit it I think you're going to do like a 5.5 and say the match sucked.
I'm going to say a 6.
There you go. We talk a lot of wrestling, fans.
We're learning each other too well. And so, that's one of those. I'm going to give it, I don't disagree with you about the larger implications of the match, but I will disagree that the match itself was not good. And I feel that that took away from it. And part of it might just be my nostalgia with The Undertaker. It really proves to me that, WWE just doesn't have a ton of long-term thinking.
They don't. It's crazy when the stories come out years later or whatever,
Yes.
for a lot of stuff that happened years ago or even more recently. I mean, even Taker on the Austin podcast, he's like, well, yeah, I mean, they called me up and, a month later I was main eventing WrestleMania. I mean,
Right.
It's just crazy. You think this big billion-dollar corporation has all this stuff. I mean, even this year with WrestleMania, this year we know they didn't have a plan, but it's how? It'll work. Right. Yeah, I can understand Dana White being like, oh gosh, McGregor lost and that really blew up our next pay-per-view. Like, I don't understand how they just like sometimes can't get their shit together enough to like have long-term plans, and how a lot of this stuff comes together day of or month before, whatever.
The week of that Raw before.
Yeah.
Well, and that's why I watch way more New Japan than you, but they have year-long builds. They know what the kind of same type of thing. They know who's going to get that match at Wrestle Kingdom, but it's like WWE, like they are positioned right now to at least have a good men's main event.
So you put this at a 6.
I'm going to keep this at a 6 because 1, I did not think it was a good match, and 2, I respect the story that it told. I don't like the story it told.
So let me hit you with this. I got 2 questions for you. Should Taker's streak have ended?
No. Never.
Okay, and you feel solid about that?
That is me as a wrestling fan. It should have never ended.
All right, on that one, I'm 50-50. I don't have a strong opinion. I see both sides of it. Part of me wish he would have kept it forever, but it's like now if it was still going on, then would we have even ever thought he was going to end it, and maybe it would have been anticlimactic? I don't know. But then you look at these matches now and you're like, well, it doesn't matter if he loses or not because the streak's not there. So taking the streak out of it. My next question is, let's say he has to drop to someone in the past 10 years. If should Lesnar have been the one to end it, and if not, who should it have been?
I don't think it should have been Lesnar because
who should have been?
Even though because he didn't need the Undertaker like that. I think it should have been someone more green. Actually, I think it should have been someone that. Maybe it was Bray before
at the right time,
not the Fiend, but Bray. Maybe it was something like that. Maybe it was like a Finn Balor, maybe it was something like that. I could Finn is
AJ,
AJ would have been good too. And even that, I don't think AJ needed to go over. So I wouldn't even necessarily Finn would have been a really good choice. I think maybe it was Roman and them just the
no way Roman,
yard.
no way.
I was gonna say you don't.
They've never gotten Strowman hot enough to where it would make sense. I will say that again, of the current crop, I mean, call it the last 8 or 10 years or whatever. I think 1,000% Lesnar was the right call if it was going to be anyone. The only other guy that even really, truly, remotely comes to mind, if booked properly, would have been Wyatt.
Wyatt would have made sense. But even then, you could have made, really pick who you want to make a star and let him beat the Taker, because Nakamura came out so hot from NXT. Maybe it's not I'm riding high on Nakamura. Maybe it is even today. Does that?
But here's the thing. There's no one Vince has been high enough on to where they would ever done it.
Oh yeah, I hear. Oh yeah, absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
That's the thing. Is you say, oh, what about Finn? What about Nakamura? What about Joe? What about Strowman? None of these guys. He never, ever felt strongly enough about them where they strapped the rocket on him.
They just weren't his type.
Yeah.
They weren't some young, anyways. So,
and it's if you were going to do Reigns, then you should have done it, and you should have, that's a double, well, it's not really a double term, but that's where you would hit Reigns. Dude beats him, then he beats the shit out of him afterwards.
Yep.
Hey, take him off. Take Taker off on a stretcher. Yep. Reigns is the biggest heel in the business. Give him a run. I'm not saying that's how you end Taker's career, but dude,
it's an option.
So, all right, this was fun, really good. Close us out, dude.
Yeah. So again, Tom, appreciate us. Hopefully, our fans enjoyed Tom and I kind of sitting here doing this a little bit.
Second solo show.
Yep.
No guests needed. Hopefully, you're digging it because it's fun. I like it. It's different.
Yep. And we hear from we hear you guys. We see the feedback. Some of you want us and the guests to talk more about the match and the intricacies of the match more. Some of you just want to hear us talk about wrestling and you enjoy this single focus on a match and things like that. And so
that's some of the feedback we get is we talk more about the actual match sometimes. We try with the guests. Sometimes it's tough, or sometimes it's not the right guest to do that. So it's fun really kind of minute by minute going through these matches and talking about them while mixing some other stuff in. So it's been fun.
So, of course, as always, our 2 competitors in the ring, you can find, it's just at The Undertaker and at Brock Lesnar, super easy stuff. Not nearly as competitive, but at Payoff Tom and at Payoff Jeff as well, too, out here doing our thing. Lastly, of course, as we say it every week, subscribe to the show, give us those 5 stars, spread the word about the show. We love running into fans and talking to people and interacting. I had someone at a conference that
I hope to see some of you at WrestleMania, by the way. We'll be there.
Let us know. We will. Tom and I will gladly bring a couple pockets of koozies for people. So give them out while we can. So Tom, any way to end the show? The streak of our show is over for now. So
the show is over. As always, thank you for joining us on The Payoff.